All right. Here we are live. Welcome to the Below the Yellow Line podcast, episode 113. I'm your host, Joseph Landy Pavlon. Alongside with me tonight, of course, I have my colleagues, Justin Hebert and Daniel Ford. How's it going, guys? What a weekend, though.
Yeah, it was a really good, interesting weekend for motorsports.
We had a lot of action on track, Danny. That was... We're going to get into it.
Well, that's definitely for sure. We'll cover everything for you guys. We got the Indy 500. Hélio getting his fourth win, tying Alonso, Rick Mears, and
AJ Foyt.
Yeah, man.
We did not see that one coming, and we'll head on to the Indy topic in just a few. But we're going to start, as we always do, with NASCAR and Sunday's longest race of the year, the Coca-Cola 600 at Charlotte Motor Speedway in Concord, North Carolina, also known as the World 600, a race that's been going on for over 61 years. And once again, a statement-making milestone win for the winner of this race. And Kyle Larson for Hendrick Motorsports gets it done from pole position. I mean, he never looked back. He led of the 400 laps. Kyle Larson was in front for 327 of them. After scoring his 8th career pole position, Kyle Larson led pretty much more than 3/4 of the race and brought it home to a clutch victory. It's the 8th career win for Kyle Larson. It's the first time that Kyle Larson has won a NASCAR Cup Series race over 400 miles in distance. How did Larson get it done?
He had a fast car, which really helped him. He just also had good pit stops and good strategy. Really helped Kyle Larson to win the Coca-Cola 600.
I'll have to say the same thing. Larson really had that night made. He just been a dominant car all day and all night, and he managed to pull off the victory.
Yeah.
I believe it was the early 90s, 92 or 93, that the Coca-Cola 600 went from a day race from start to finish to day to night. But really, since that era started of this event, it has been challenging for drivers to adjust to the track conditions as they changed from hot temperatures in the daytime to cooler temperatures under the lights. You may not notice it, but it really does have an effect on the drivers and teams. And we don't really see too many have dominant performances like this. But let's go back a few years ago. Kyle Busch did, I think he led 377 of the 400 laps to win the Coke 600 in 2018. Martin Truex Jr. led 90% of the race over, actually. He led from start to the finish, 392 laps led.
In 2016?
In 2016.
Yep.
So that these dominant performances, they aren't rare, but it's hard to do it in a race this long when your endurance is put to the test, when your car's durability is put to the test, tires are put to the test. Really, you're standing on track. If you're off pace a little bit, you can get lapped before you know it here. And that was one of the keys to the race and why it's so tough to win this event, because it's hard to stay focused. And it's very easy to have things go wrong. And when they go wrong in the Coke 600, they go wrong fast. Kyle Larson, he won all of the stages, 3 of them, and just did a brilliant job from pole position. And let's not forget, Hendrick Motorsports is now the winningest team in the NASCAR Cup Series. With this win, they achieved win number 269, surpassing Petty Enterprises for most wins by a NASCAR Cup Series team. Congratulations, Mr. H. You sure deserved it. Let's take a look at the results. Chase Elliott, who was in this position but unfortunately did not get the win in 2020, finished second. He led 22 laps, started third, and had a very stable run. Stayed in the top 5 all night long, especially during the night portions. He was closer to the lead. How about Kyle Busch? Led 1 lap, started 20th. Mid-pack, brought it home to 3rd. Good run for Kyle Busch. William Byron led 19 laps, started 4th, brings it home 4th. Now Byron and Larson are tied for 2nd in the points. We'll discuss that later as we go on in the podcast. But Byron is just continuing the steady runs that he's had in the year 2021. Probably his best season yet, without a question. And we're not even halfway through. Just consider that. And that's just incredible.
Right?
William Byron's best season ever, and we're not even halfway through.
Yeah.
Alex Bowman rounds out the top 5. He led 5 laps, started 7th, and rounds out the top 5. So all 400 cars finished in the top 5 in this milestone race for the team.
And also, that 48 team, that car was so bad. Even Alex Bowman said the car was not handling well. He managed to get a top 5, but the car was just not handling for him. But getting a top 5 with an ill-handling car is a good finish for when your car is not really handling well.
Yeah.
Especially when we're considering the longest race on the tour. That's a tall order.
Yeah, and he managed to work his way through.
Yeah.
Never lost the lead lap. Austin Dillon, who won this race 4 years ago, led 1 lap, started 6th, and finished there. 7th place, Denny Hamlin led 3 laps, started 14th, finished 7 spots better in the 7th place. Chris Buescher, another decent top 10 finish for the Roush driver, who started 27th and managed to get outside or past the top 20, past the top 10, and get into that 8th spot. Tyler Reddick, who won the 300-mile race in 2019 at Charlotte, led 6 laps, started 15th, brought it home 9th, so double top 10 for RCR and Richard Childress Racing. And 10th place, Kevin Harvick. What more can we say about that? If that's the best finish for a Stewart-Haas car of the race, then there's a lot of work to be done for the team. Harvick started 5th, however, but rounds out the top 10. 11th place, Brad Keselowski led 6 laps, started 13th, finished just 1 spot out of the top 10. The 2020 winner didn't have that same success as he did last year. Ryan Blaney led 2 laps, started 11th, finished 13th. Matt DiBenedetto, who started 22nd, led 2 laps to finish 18th. Christopher Bell, who led 3 laps and started 17th, finished outside the top 20 due to an untimely caution. And Anthony Alfredo, who led 3 laps from the 29th starting spot, finished 25th. So there's your numbers after the Coca-Cola 600. And let's talk about some drivers from the race that surprised you. I mean, that surprised us for the right reasons. I'm going to go with Chris Buescher. I said his name just a few minutes ago. Chris Buescher, you know what I think he did right? Continue the steady pace that he's had in the past few races. Not overcook the pressure. Keep himself steady. That's exactly what he did. And a top 10 was the prize at the end of the night for him. How about another driver who performed very well at the Coke 600?
Another guy that's impressed me in the Coca-Cola 600. Let me just nope, that's the wrong thing I clicked. I don't need that. Okay. Another driver that's impressed me.
I have to say, can I go first, Justin?
Go ahead.
I'll have to say Chase Elliott, man. The guy has been challenging. His has been running up front all day, and he's just making smart strategies, and it's just been dominant along with Kyle Larson. But I know you picked him to win the race, but I would say a solid performance. Well done by Chase Elliott, man.
That moves him up to 4th in points.
Yeah.
For me, my driver that impressed me was Tyler Reddick. Tyler Reddick, he impressed me. Like, the thing with Tyler Reddick, some races he's inconsistent, but he impressed me. He's currently 13th in the points. He's only about 29 behind Alex Bowman and 31 behind his teammate Austin Dillon at 11. But I think Tyler Reddick has impressed me. Like, he's currently 13th in points. He's ahead of Christopher Bell, who has a win. And Tyler Reddick, he has a 1 top 5 and 8 top 10s, which is decent.
Right. Absolutely. And you know what? He's getting closer to that first win.
Yeah.
Like, Alex Bowman has 4 top 5s compared to Reddick's 1 top 5, but Bowman has 7 top 10s. Tyler Reddick, even has more top 5. He has the same amount of top 5s as his teammate Austin Dillon, but he has 8 top 10s compared to Austin Dillon's 6. So Tyler Reddick is really climbing up. I feel like he's going to get a win soon because he's decent on road courses. He's good on short tracks. The tracks that have the high lane, because you always know Tyler Reddick's going to be up there.
Absolutely.
Tyler Reddick, he really impressed me getting a good top 10 in the Coke 600. Yeah, he really impressed me.
For sure. All right, and who are some of the drivers that were shockingly just not there and that need to be there and just fell apart in this race? I'm going to go with Joey Logano. Something is up with Logano in the Coke 600 because I don't know. He just seems to have a problem finishing this race in a good position. And if you look at the stats that Joey Logano's had, he's a 17th place finish. For some drivers, that's a position worth celebrating. But for Joey Logano, 17th place finish at a track like Charlotte. By the way, he's won the 500-mile race there in 2015. That's not impressive. Let's go back to the Coke 600 in 2020. He finished 13th. 2019, he did finish second. 2018, 22nd. 26th, 21st, 36th, 9th. I'm just saying, those are not numbers right now that you gotta live off. And if you're Joey Logano fans, you should be glad that this racetrack has only one event on the oval.
Yeah.
Even though he's won the 500-mile race there.
Yeah, he's decent when it was 500 miles. It's just the 600 miles. It's just...
You have to complete the extra 100. A lot of drivers have a hard time doing it.
Yeah, and another driver who I thought was surprisingly wasn't doing so well was Truex Jr.
Oh, yeah, he ran into trouble. Started 8th, but never recovered. 29th place for the two-time winner of this event. So that's it for a round.
Oh, wait. Yeah, for me, a driver that...
Go ahead, Justin.
For me, it's Christopher Bell. He finished...
Christopher Bell.
He led 3 laps, but finished 24th. 4 laps behind the field. In a Gibbs car, won. That's just like... With Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, they finished top 10, but recently Christopher Bell's been in accidents that are his fault or not, or just has no luck recently in that 20 car. So,
something's going to have to change pretty soon.
Yeah.
Because he's back outside the top 10 in points.
Yeah.
This is Alex Bowman. And Bowman, I know he's catching up.
But Bowman was actually 16th at one point. He's 13th. Bell's dropped to 15th. And he has a win. Some races, Bell is just inconsistent. He needs to bring that consistency back because after this race, there's that All-Star race, so he's locked into that All-Star race at Texas.
That's not going to do anything for you in the points.
But then they go to a new track with Nashville. Then Pocono has double header races again. Then they go to Road America. It's just there's so many races that it's going to be challenging for these guys to race at. You got to be consistent. You can't be finishing one race, you're getting a top 5, and the next race you're finishing 35th. You can't have stuff like that.
Yeah, and if you're in Team Penske right now, you should be concerned.
Yeah. I don't know if you're as concerned as the other Ford team that's being factory supported.
Yeah, but the Stewart Haas, Harvick's solid, but it's just Almirola. I don't know what they're putting in his car.
I don't know what's going on there, Almirola. It seems like he's having an off day.
I don't know what's going on with Almirola and what's his name?
Cole
Custer and Chase Briscoe.
Well, Chase
Briscoe's a rookie.
Yeah, Briscoe's a rookie.
Have some higher expectations than that.
Yeah, but Cole Custer, I don't know. You got Mike Shiplett, the crew chief of Custer. Plus, you got Mike Bugaravitz.
Something has to be done for Almirola's crew, or
there
needs to be a driver change. We don't know what's going on, but it's just not being there here.
But I feel like a driver change wouldn't be that good because there's not many drivers that are in the
But either way,
What about the only one? Riley Herbst?
no, I'm talking about not just driver change, but what about the team shrinking? You don't know what the team's heading for in the next year or two. They're in recycle mode. That's what I think.
Yeah, but I feel like they need a better I think they need one.
They need new management in that operation. Whoever's running the cars.
Yeah,
the car chiefs, they got to change things up over there.
Yeah.
Or results aren't going to improve anytime soon.
Because
let's look at the points, though. I mean, we got to look at the point standings for a moment. We'll get to the Stewart-Haas guys in a minute because I want to discuss who's in the top 10 now. After 15 races, Denny Hamlin's points lead decreased a little bit. He didn't reach over 170 or 100, but he's got 76 points ahead of second and third, which are tied, Kyle Larson and Byron. See, with that third stage, Larson gained another 10 extra points. So he's up to second now, as is William Byron, 557 points on them. Chase Elliott leaps up to fourth with a 92-point gap in between of the points leader. Joey Logano is still in fifth. He's minus 127. Martin Truex Jr., he dropped to sixth, minus 147 from the championship leader. Seventh place is currently Ryan Blaney in that spot. Ryan Blaney has 482 points. Kyle Busch is eighth with Kyle's in eighth with 476 points, minus 157. Kevin Harvick is ninth. He's still in the top 10. I mean, if there's anything to smile about in SHR this year, 468 points for Harvick. And Brad Keselowski drops down to the top 10, 10th with 448 points. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the guys at Stewart-Haas Racing. So we said Kevin Harvick is ninth. Yeah. However, you have to look all the way down and find
who's the second highest.
Chase Briscoe, 25th in the point standings. Chase Briscoe has 251 points. Then Colt Custer, who's in 27th.
Right.
Eric Almirola in 28th. I'm not making these numbers up.
But my question, why is Briscoe ahead of that?
It's gotten to the point where the rookie, who is expected to be a little less experienced, is ahead of two drivers, one who's a sophomore and another who's a veteran, a longtime veteran in the Cup Series.
Well, but this is a thing with Stewart-Haas. I've noticed every 4 years they suck for a bit. Remember Stewart-Haas?
I mean, this is worse than some of Danica Patrick's amateurs.
Remember 2016? Stewart-Haas was decent. Remember 2017 they struggled? They only got 2 wins with Kevin Harvick. And Sonoma was the first one. Kurt Busch did get the 500, yes. But other than that, Kurt was kind of irrelevant.
Kevin was somewhat in the championship hunt. Where did he finish? Third?
Yeah, he was.
It was not bad, but you think he could do better for that team.
But he got his first win of the season came at Sonoma. We're going there next. That could be I think it's a thing with Stewart-Haas every 4 years.
It's Kevin's home track, mind you.
Yeah.
Like 2013, they had the same issues. Tony got a win, Newman got a win, but other than that, Stewart-Haas was kind of inconsistent in 2013. It's basically like every 4 years they have a bad year. 2021's 4 years after the 2017 where they had a bad year too. Harvick with 2 wins, he was doing decent. Yeah, Danica Patrick finishing 30th in most races. I think she finished low 20s in points.
Like always.
Then you got...
now let's multiply that by 3, and we got 2021.
Then you got Clint Boyer. First year at Stewart-Haas, he didn't miss the playoffs.
Right.
That was the first year with Ford.
Yeah.
They were adjusting to a new brand.
Yeah, but also it's like 2013 they struggled too. It's like a thing with every 4 years they struggled.
And
which
then
is kind of weird.
Another championship?
It's like they have a bad year like 2013.
Right.
Remember they struggled 2013? 2014, what happened? They won the
championship.
title.
They won the championship.
Yeah, 2017 they struggled. 2018 they had a good season in 2018. Then you went to 2020.
2019 they should have won.
2019 was another close year.
Listen, 2019 they should have won the championship.
Yeah, 2020.
All props to Joe Gibbs though.
Yeah, 2020. Harvick should have won the title.
Bad race.
He should have been in contention.
But he would have won it without the chase.
Oh yeah,
Wherever the system says it's
but
the championship, and Kevin Harvick fell shy again, and here's the problem: he doesn't have listen, Mario has Luigi, we know that, but Kevin Harvick doesn't have that Luigi in his team that can back him up with those same stats.
But
it just doesn't seem like, I don't know, maybe the departure of Clint Boyer and Chase Briscoe. I mean, it's an innocent maneuver. It's not a bad one.
But it's like Clint Boyer was last year's start.
We know he was on the way out. But and there was some talks, hey, maybe Kyle Larson, he was on the market. He ended up going to Hendrick Motorsports, and here's the door wide open for Chase Briscoe to come in. He's a great driver, but things just, But
also the Cup
it's the team that's just having the bad year. It's no one else's fault.
But it's also not just the team. It's probably like Hendrick upped their performance.
Maybe that is true. Maybe there have been some better teams than Stewart-Haas Racing.
Well, remember what JHR said. We dominate everybody, but HMS is back. He's basically, Kyle Busch was ranting about Hendrick being back to their domination.
See, Hendrick Motorsports found their way back up top.
Yeah.
Team Penske, sometimes they might be up and down, but they know how to get back on top pretty quickly when they fall on the ground. But it just seems like Stewart-Haas Racing. And this is going to lead to my other question. Is I know it's a little controversial. I mean, I don't think it is, but do they really need a four-car team? I mean, depending on what the future of Almirola's contract is it worth having to weigh all that on your shoulders in order? I mean, sometimes if you have less cars in your team, you have more direct focus on the priorities. Having one or two cars versus 3 or 4 cars. Now, Hendrick Motorsports, a lot of people said, hey, maybe Jimmy's 48 team should just close, even though it didn't, and we still had that 4th driver come in. What could happen if the team, can focus on themselves? Maybe they could do better, even though Chase won the title last year. It still is on that question. Here's an example. Before I let you speak here, Justin, Joe Gibbs Racing for a long time was a single-car team. And for a long time, they were a 2-car team and a 3-car team. They were hesitant to make those moves. And now for half a decade, they have been a 4-car team.
Yeah, in 2015, that's when they added that 19 entry.
But it worked. I think maybe they were ready. It seemed like Stewart-Haas Racing many years ago jumped the gun to adding a new car to the team. And ever since 2014, they've had 4 cars in their operation.
Yeah. Because, Stewart-Haas Racing, when they joined, they had 2 cars. They had the 14 and the 39. 2012, they had some races. The 10 was shared with Tommy Baldwin, but when Danica drove, it was a Stewart-Haas car, the number 10. Then 2013, that's where that number 10 entry came from. And then after that, the 39. Then after that,
39 became the 4, and the 41 was
the 4 team, which was Kurt Busch's entry.
And that's where we've been today with these 4-car teams.
Yeah, because
financially speaking, I mean, I'm sure they're pretty good, but I just hope it doesn't take their focus away. There's still a long way to go in the season, but you can't get 15 races back.
But also, they're not just focusing on the Cup Series. They have an Xfinity program with Riley Herbst in the number 98 entry.
He looked a little better this weekend, but they have a long way to go.
He got a pole, which I didn't expect. I didn't expect to see that done.
Thank you for mentioning it, because that's our next topic. Let's go ahead and bring up the Xfinity Series race from Saturday at Charlotte Motor Speedway for 300 miles. We got to see the Stars of Tomorrow racing. When I mean the Stars of Tomorrow, I really mean it. About Ty Gibbs once again in his 6th career start. He led 20 laps from the 8th place starting position to score his 2nd career win. First on an oval.
Yep.
Ty Gibbs he's the future.
He's a force to be on it. Truth be told, he's a force to be working with.
Yeah.
There's just something amazing about his driving, and I don't care what last name he has. You are a driver in the end. You're the one who's driving the car.
Yeah.
So just put that all into consideration. Ty Gibbs, get ready to hear his name more, because he can drive the damn wheels off any race car.
Well,
From
most
what I've seen in
definitely.
the very few years of watching him race on TV, spotless performance. And all credit should be given to Coach Gibbs and everybody at JGR that's helped the grandson of Joe Gibbs be in this position of success at such an early age of a driving career. He's 18 years old. We're going to get into that a little bit later. Let's talk about the results, though. Austin Cindric, the points leader, finished second. He led 2 laps, started fourth, finished second. Harrison Burton, which is pretty much his second home race. His first one was at Martinsville. Harrison Burton started 13th, finished third. Brandon Brown gets another top 5 in 2021. After finishing fourth, he started way back in 32nd. In the back, he finished in the front. 5th place, how about Tyler Reddick? Jordan Anderson Racing's best finish as a team with 5th. Reddick, who won the race 2 years ago, started 16th. Chase Briscoe led 60 laps despite spinning towards the end, but recovered after starting second in the start of the race to finish 6th. He led 60 laps total. Ty Dillon finished 7th. He started 10th. Brandon Jones cracked the top 10 in the 8th spot. Jeb Burton 9th. And Jeremy Clements rounded out your top 10. Riley Herbst, as Justin mentioned, led 7 laps and scored his first career pole in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. A very good weekend for Riley Herbst, knowing the situation he's been in 2021. It's certainly a better outlook. Maybe it's a little bit of sunlight towards the future for that team.
Yeah.
But it gets worse. Daniel Hemrick, who won Stage 1 and Stage 2, led 105 laps more than anybody else in the race. After starting third, crashed out towards the end and had to settle for a 28th place finish. Ryan Sieg, who led 4 laps, was also involved in a crash. Started 12th and retired, finishing 31st. AJ Allmendinger led 2 laps, started 5th, was involved with an engine failure. He finished 33rd and out of the race in last place. Grant Enfinger, who started 35th, made his NASCAR Xfinity Series debut.
Yep.
So, the Xfinity Series will be back for round 13 to 33. By the way, we're now 1/3 through the Xfinity season.
Yep.
And who is in the points lead? Well,
Austin
Cindric, 520 points so far. The defending champion is looking to be on track for his possibly his second title in a row.
Remember, that happened actually a few times in the Xfinity Series history. With Tyler Reddick was the last driver to do that. Before that, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. did that.
No drivers won more than 2 titles in the Xfinity Series. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., Martin Truex Jr.,
Dale Jr.
Harvick
has 2
Kevin
titles.
Harvick.
Who was the front?
Sam Ard.
Yeah, Sam Ard. Randy LaJoy. You have many drivers, 2 championships, but the last driver to do it in a row, 2 back-to-back, was
Tyler Reddick.
2018, 2019. If Cindric won in 2020, he could win 2021 if he keeps consistency, and if he's strong in the playoffs again, it's going to really help Cindric.
And it seems like the tracks that favor him are where they belong.
So
that's a good sight.
Yeah, like next race, Mid-Ohio, road course. He's good on these road courses.
Yes. All right, so Harrison Burton, who's second in points, he's 84 points back.
Okay.
Trying not to make it 3 digits between first and second. AJ Allmendinger had a bad race, dropped down to third. Hemrick as well.
Dropped down. He was never
tied in third. AJ and Hemrick.
Yeah, but AJ did not drop. He actually stayed. But Hemrick dropped from second to fourth.
That makes sense. 108 points behind them. 412 points they both scored after 12 races. 5th place, Justin Allgaier, who's still knocking on the door for that first title in the series with 387 points, minus 133. Jeb Burton, who won the Talladega 300 race, is 6th with 383 points. Justin Haley is in 7th, catching up from some lost ground, 348 points. Jeremy Clements in 8th with 329 points. Noah Gragson catching up to 9th, 323 points. And Mike Snyder rounds out the top 10 with 309 points. So, I think we kind of see who's going to be a factor in this Xfinity hunt.
Yeah.
The pieces are going into the puzzle here. And because we mentioned Ty Gibbs, we're going to go into the other race that he won on Saturday, and this one was pretty much the more self-explanatory version of Ty Gibbs' success, as he went 100 for 100 in laps led.
Yep.
At the General Tire 150 at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Just a few hours after that Xfinity win, he went 100 for 100 and from the pole. Ty Gibbs now decreases that points lead to 10 after that race. And to Corey Heim, who finished second, he did everything he could to not let it slip anymore. Drew Dollar third. Parker Chase, his first start in a stock car in a Novel, a fourth place finish.
Yeah, good run for him.
And Nick Sanchez, who was the only guy that could seem to clear the 18 despite not leading a lap in the race, brought his Rev Racing Chevrolet in the top 5.
Yep, which is good for but the reason that Ty Gibbs still not the points leader, Corey Heim's also consistent. He's been finishing up front too. So
when Corey Heim's not winning, Ty Gibbs is winning. When Ty Gibbs isn't winning, Corey Heim's winning. Those are the only two winners of the series. In 2021.
We'll have to see next race, which the next ARCA race is actually this Friday evening at Mid-Ohio. The Dawn 150 at Mid-Ohio for the ARCA series. So we maybe we'll see a new winner.
I don't know. Ty Gibbs looked very well on those road courses. If he can win the Xfinity race at Daytona Cold Turkey, you're going to have to see you about Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, but we got experience in the field. According to the entry list, you got Austin Hill, Brandon Jones. So we'll have
a lot of these Xfinity regulars. So, but let's talk about points. So we know that the top two are 314 points for Corey Heim, Ty Gibbs 304 points in second. Yep. Chad Moffitt way far back. He's got some catching up to in third, 267 points. Nick Sanchez up to fourth, 242 points, and Drew Dollar with 207 points rounds on your top 5. So it's pretty much going to come down, I'd say, to the battle of the two Toyota drivers, Corey Heim and Ty Gibbs. But Corey Heim, I don't know. Listen, even though he's finished third and second in the races where Ty Gibbs has won, it's still the fact that the margin has only decreased between first and second. And now it's looking like if it happens once more, Ty Gibbs is going to take the points lead. All right, so that's it. Let's talk about the other race that happened over the weekend, and that would be the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series, the North Carolina Education Lottery 200.
Yep.
The race at Charlotte Motor Speedway won by, once again, a veteran. Hunter Nemechek takes the win. He led 71 laps, started fourth, and picked up his 9th career win in the NASCAR Truck Series for his time as a driver. This is round 10 of 22, so next race will mark the end of the first half of the season. We've already gone to that point. Second place, how about Carson Hosvar, who led 5 laps, started 9th, a career best finish of 2nd. Ben Rhodes, who started 5th, finished 3rd. Stuart Friesen led 1 lap, started 11th, finished 4th. Todd Gilliland from pole position. This was from rain-out qualifying. So Gilliland led 5 laps at the opening stages of the race. Brought it home in the top 5. Chandler Smith, 6th. How about Ty Majeski in his first start with ThorSport? A career best finish of 7th. Good for him. The Snowball Derby champion from last year. 8th place went to Derek Kraus, a well-needed 8th place for a driver who's been struggling in 2021. Austin Hill, 9th, and Zane Smith, who won Stage 2, led 13 laps and started 6th, rounded out the top 10. 11th place, Christian Eckes led 3 laps, started 22nd. 12th place, Ryan Truex led 1 lap, started 16th. In 13th place, Haley Deegan picked up her career best finish for the second time at 13th place. Jack Wood in 15th picked up his career best finish driving for GMS Racing. He's an ARCA driver as we speak. Tyler Ingram led 2 laps, started 7th, finished 16th. In 29th place, how about Alaskan native Keith McGee? For Jordan Anderson Racing, Keith McGee finished 29th, a career best finish for him. And Sheldon Creed, an unfortunate early end to his race after Sheldon Creed won Stage 1, led 33 laps. He was involved in an accident on lap 55 and had to retire.
Yeah.
What went wrong for Sheldon Creed on Friday night?
For Sheldon Creed, he actually had an accident with Todd Gilliland, that Todd Gillen did get loose. He did not turn him on purpose. He got loose on the bottom and made contact with the two, which the two could have had no damage until he collected his teammate Chase Purdy in the 23. So that ended his night because of heavy damage, but some fans said Todd Gillen did that on purpose. I'm like,
No, this was on a restart. They were aggressive.
Yeah. But also got loose. Like, Sheldon Creed did pin him on the apron to get him loose. Which happens. When you pin someone on the bottom, the person on the bottom is going to get loose. Which spun the two after contact with Todd Gillen, and sadly, could have had no damage until he was in the middle of the track when the 23 of Purdy came in, because Purdy had nowhere to go. The only place he could go is into the inside wall, but I don't think you wanted to be in the inside wall.
No.
That's a very bad place.
Yeah, so he couldn't go anywhere, but there was that contact, but that happens in racing. Accidents happen.
Sometimes you just can't. Sometimes it's destiny, not you, that controls the outcome of the crash.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, so these guys will be off, and then, in fact, they'll be part of the All-Star Weekend in 2 weeks' time for the Texas 220. They'll be round 11 and 22, and that will be the end of the first half of the season. Can you believe it? Time flies. We're in June, and the Truck Series season is almost halfway through.
It's insane.
Yeah.
All right, so with one more race to go in the first half, who is in the championship lead? Well, obviously, that is Hunter Nemechek with a brilliant performance in 2021. He sits first with a 44-point lead, 445 points claimed over his rival Ben Rhodes. Ben Rhodes is second, 401 points, minus 44. Austin Hill, who really took control of most of the early stages of the 2020 season, is in third, minus 98 points. Sheldon Creed is fourth. He dropped down. He's minus 106. Todd Gillen moves up to fifth after some really good racing he had in the month of May this year. Todd Gillen with 329 points. Zane Smith is sixth with 302 points, really picking up those stage wins. Matt Crafton is seventh. The three-time champion has 300 points. Stuart Friesen has 293 points, and Grant Enfinger is ninth with 291 points. And Carson Hocevar, who has done a brilliant job in 2020, is 10th with 264 points.
Yeah.
Let's just say that if you're Carson Hocevar, you should really be proud of how this guy is driving for Iowa Motorsports. Mind you, it's not the best team, but they do have good speed. When push comes to shove, they have what it takes to stay with the pack and keep that pace with the leaders. And Carson Hocevar has done just a brilliant job, and there's a lot that I have expected for him in the future. If he's already finishing in the top 5 like this, then what's next? We still have half a season to go.
Yeah.
So that's it for the Truck Series. Let's go ahead and talk about why most of you guys have been here. So I know it's got a lot to read, but check out what happened and why these milestones were reached. Round 6 of the 16-race IndyCar Championship was the biggest race of them all. The 2021 Indianapolis 500-mile race, the 105th running of this greatest spectacle in racing, is once again a reason why everything is so special about this event and how it's so hard to deny the talented driver of one and only Hélio Castroneves. The 46-year-old from São Paulo, Brazil, drove an amazing race, one that was very unexpected. And we're going to get into everything that happened. Last week, of course, we talked about qualifying. This week, we talked about the race. Everything seemed to go seamless in the post-qualifying practices that happened between last week and this week on the podcast. So nothing really to take note of, except for the fact that all 33 drivers seamlessly started the race. And that was it. The 105th Indy 500 race began very cleanly. We only had 2 caution flag periods, and as a result, that was the fastest Indy 500 ever after 105 years. First, we're going to talk about IndyCar stats. Second, we're going to talk about the Indy 500. And we'll probably mesh them in between. But actually that's what mesh them all in the moment when I bring up these drivers. So, not a bottle of milk. I wish it was. Drinking the bottle of milk was Hélio Castroneves, who led 20 laps in just a brilliant driver, Meyer-Shank Racing and Honda. He started 8th. In terms of his IndyCar career, his 31st career win, his 94th career podium, and for Meyer-Shank Racing, their very first IndyCar win happens to be in the greatest race possible, the Indianapolis 500. How amazing is that story? And by the way, for Hélio Castroneves himself, that was his first IndyCar win since 2017 at Iowa Speedway and his first win outside of Team Penske. And by looking at Hélio's stats, I mean, you could say a lot of people would agree with you saying, whether you guys want to admit it or not, that he was in the sunset years of his career in terms of Indy. Yeah. And just by looking at it, he's driven for Bettenhausen in the 90s and Hogan Racing in 99. And at the closing rounds of the 1999 season in kart, as the two series were split at the time, a young Canadian driver by the name of Greg Moore from New Westminster, BC, had caught the eye of the captain himself, Roger Penske. He signed a contract to drive for Team Penske in 2000. Unfortunately, as we all know, at the final race of the season at Fontana, California, Greg Moore would lose his life in a crash in his last race of the season, which was supposed to be his last race with Forsyth Racing. Greg Moore, I think, was just 25 years old.
Yeah. And
had a whole life and whole career ahead of him. And despite all that sadness and all that heartache of losing a driver on the racetrack, especially one that was supposed to have a bright future ahead, Roger had to make the tough decision to hire someone in the car that the fallen Canadian was supposed to drive. So they went with this guy by the name of Hélio Castroneves from Sao Paulo, Brazil, who I believe was in his early 20s at the time. He was probably about 24 years old. 24 years old at the time.
Yeah.
And say, hey, I want you to drive. And, well, look what happened. At the Detroit Grand Prix in 2000, Hélio Castroneves picked up his first career win. He won twice more at Mid-Ohio and at Laguna Seca to finish 7th in points. And in 2001, we all know what happened. Hélio Castroneves made his debut at the Indy 500. Because of the split, of course, he never made an appearance in the 500 until that year. It was the first year after somewhat 5-6 years of hiatus since Penske last entered the 500 because of the split. And Gilles Deferrin, his teammate, finished 1st and 2nd. Hélio Castroneves became the first rookie winner of the 500 since Graham Hill in 1966. Shows you how tough this race is to win. Not only that, and like it or not, he won it again in 2002. Hélio Castroneves won the 2002 Indianapolis 500. And in 2002, that was when Team Penske made the transition to the Indy Racing League, where he nearly won the title, finishing 2nd. Now, Hélio never won the championship, though he finished 2nd not once, but not twice, not 3, but 4 different times. He's finished 2nd in the final standings. Just put that into perspective. Hélio Castroneves could have been a 4-time IndyCar champion. He's never won one.
Yeah.
But in the month of May, he was the king of the Speedway. And in 2009, during one of the toughest years of his personal life, in 2009, he was involved in a situation where tax evasion could have put him in jail for almost a half a decade. as he was a non-American citizen. Deportation was possibly in the picture. His whole family was at risk. In 2009, at the start of the May month of the Indy 500, that's where Hélio Castroneves and his family were in. And by the way, during that time, Team Penske was interested in this young Australian driver to be a possible replacement, and who actually filled in that car. Do you know who his name is? Will Power. Exactly. And Will has driven for the team ever since. But Hélio was just able to get into Indy and focus on the race, or at least try to. But whenever he got into the car, that was his main focus. Outside of the car, life, of course, tackled him like a bear. And what did Hélio Castroneves do? He won the 500 in 2009 when the world's odds were against him. And it was one of the most emotional scenes I could ever recall as a kid, just watching it. There aren't too many dry eyes at the Speedway that day. So, of course, with at that rate, we were all wondering, okay, the fourth win is coming. That fourth win is on the way. And between 2009 and 2021, it's full 12 years, Hélio Castroneves finished 9th, 17th, 10th, 6th, a second in 2014. He was so close to winning that fourth one in 2014, but Ryan Hunter-Reay, the American driver, outlasted him in the closing laps. 2017, he avoided some carnage, but put himself in a great position to win the race. Ran out of laps to beat Takuma Sato. And then, of course, 2018, 2019, 2020, no top 10 finishes. And his first Indy 500 outside of Team Penske would be with Meyer-Shank Racing this year. And what did he do? He had a brilliant car, made the Fast 9 in qualifying, brought it home in first place. And he didn't pull an upset win like Dan Weldon did 10 years ago or Alexander Rossi 5 years ago. He did it all on the racetrack naturally. This guy's a genius. He's 46 years of age. He's a veteran who's been racing in IndyCar for 24 years. He's won a championship, a driving championship in the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship with Team Penske last year. He won the 24 Hours of Daytona from 2020 and just 2021, I mean.
I was about to say, Penske did not win last year.
I didn't say that one. Sorry. He won the 6 Hours of Atlanta last year. This guy's a great driver. And honestly, he's just an outstanding driver. He's a great personality. I mean, hell, he went to Dancing with the Stars in the late 2000s. That one time, I think it was 07. He was that popular. He was one of the stars, and I thought that was so cool. Just to watch him on Dancing with the Stars. It gave me a reason to tune in many years ago. And he's such a popular figure on the track. Even if Hélio didn't win this race, the roar of the crowd could really just explain itself. And he took the lead during the race, which he led for 20 laps. The crowd went wild. And by the way, it may not have been a full capacity crowd of over 300,000 people that we get every year, but easily, without a doubt, 135,000 people that showed up at Sunday's Indy 500. That easily shattered the record for most people at a sporting event since the pandemic started, and it probably will be like that till the racetrack shatters its own record next year and the year after.
Hélio, I didn't expect him to win. Nobody expected him after not being that competitive in IndyCar recently, but to win the Indy 500, which helps Meyer-Shank, their first victory in IndyCar. At the biggest race of the biggest race for IndyCar. That's just impressive.
It wasn't their first win, though. It was their first win in IndyCar.
Yeah, this series.
Soak it in. That's just incredible.
Yeah, they've won in sports cars before, but their first one in the IndyCar series. That's just really impressive.
He and Alex Palau put on a great battle. We're going to talk about the history that Hélio Castroneves made. So if you're not aware already, which you probably should be, Hélio Castroneves becomes the fourth driver to have the most wins in the Indianapolis 500 at 4. He's the member of the 4 Winners Club. And Hélio Castroneves is an elite company after after the Indy 500, a record-tying win. Now, the first driver to win 4 Indy 500s was A.J. Foyt. And the Texan ended up winning the Indianapolis 500. Of course, he won the title 7 times, but 60 years ago, he got his first one with Travis and Offenhauser. With Watson and Offenhauser, he won the tragic 1964 500. In 1967, for Coyote 67 and Ford, he ended up winning for a 3rd time. And he had to wait, kind of like Hélio Castroneves, over about a decade for that 4th win with Coyote and the A.J. Foyt engine to win the 1977 Indianapolis 500. He became the first driver to win a 4th Indy 500. And remember, his career went on to become amazing. He got 7 national championships, most of all time. A reign that Scott Dixon can shatter this year, or not shatter, but tie this year. Next on the list, Al Unser. Al Unser became the 2nd driver to win the Indianapolis 500-mile race. And he's a 3-time champion, of course, but just looking at all the amazing stats and just seeing how everything turned out for Al Unser Jr. Al Unser Jr. He won the race twice, but Al Sr. He won it for Colt, for Parnelli Jones' team, and Ford in 1970. He won it again in 71, kind of like Hélio, first 2 races in a row. And he had to wait till near the end of the decade. Same amount of years he had to wait, like Hélio Castroneves, to get that 3rd Indy 500 win in 1978 with Chaparral and Cosworth. And then he had to wait a long time, almost 10 years, to get that 4th win with Team Penske and Cosworth to get the win. And now that's just another example of how hard it is to win this race. Because he attempted the Indy 500 from 1965 to 1994 and won it 4 times. It's hard enough to win one of these races. Do it 4 times, you're an elite company. And last but not least on that list, of course, we have Rick Mears. Rick Mears, whose career was from 1979 all the way to 1992, a 3-time champion. The first champion in the first split under the kart banner. And Rick Mears won the Indy 500 4 times. His first was with Team Penske in 1979 in a Cosworth. He had to wait to get his 2nd win in the Indy 500 with Team Penske. All of them were with Team Penske. 1984, 1988, and 1991. So guess what? 30 years ago, the last driver to win a 4th Indy 500, Rick Mears. 30 years later, Hélio Castroneves wins a 4th Indy 500. 60 years later, the first driver to go on to win 4 Indy 500s, getting his first one, A.J. Foyt. 60 years later, a 4th driver has become a 4-time winner of the 500. In fact, 40 years after A.J. Foyt's first Indy 500 win, it was Hélio Castroneves' first Indy 500 win. I don't know about you, but these are some incredible numbers that all seem to fit in place, Justin. Now let's continue with the results. So Alex Palou, he led 35 laps in. Boy, he had it almost there. Race nearly lost. And you know what? I'm going to mention this in a minute here, but Alex Palou picked up his 4th career podium. His best career finish in the Indy 500, started 6th. Just a brilliant run. I forgot to mention Honda, their 14th win in the Indy 500. Congrats to them.
Yeah.
Simon Pagenaud led 3 laps, started 26th, his 37th career podium. And by the way, only his 2nd time he finished on the podium in the 500. So we're talking about a series champion and a former winner in the 500, only getting on the podium twice after many years of trying.
Yeah.
His only other one, of course, the win in 2019, you may ask.
Yeah.
Paddle Awards, best career finish in the Indy 500, a fourth after leading 17 laps and starting 12th. Ed Carpenter finished fifth after starting fourth. Santino Ferrucci led 2 laps, started 23rd, picked up the fastest lap. 7th place, how about Sage Karam, a career best finish in the Indy 500. Well done for Sage Karam. Rinus VeeKay, who led 32 laps, started in the 3rd spot, picked up his best career finish in the Indy 500 at 8th. 2-time winner of the 500, Juan Pablo Montoya, finished 9th after starting 24th. Tony Kanaan, the 2013 winner of the 500, brought his Ganassi Honda in the top 10 after starting 5th. Connor Daly picked up the most laps led. He led 40 laps after starting 19th of all places. He got to the front pretty quick, didn't he?
But
finished 13th after running into some trouble.
Well, yeah, he did hit the tire from that came off Graham Rahal's car. But also, right as Connor took the lead for the first time, you heard the crowd. All the crowd started cheering because he is from Indiana, 20 minutes away from Speedway, Indiana, where the track is. So he's a local guy. So having him lead the Indy 500 for part of the race, the fans were really happy.
Oh, yeah. And he drove for the home team at Carpenter Racing.
Yep.
Which they, unfortunately, had the cautions not come out the way they did. They could have had a better chance at winning this race.
Yeah.
Takuma Sato, last year's winner, the 2-time winner of the 500, led 7 laps, started 15th, finished 1 spot better. In 16th place, Colton Herta led 13 laps, started 2nd. 17th place, pole winner Scott Dixon led 7 laps. It was his 26th career pole and his 4th in the Indy 500. And nope, another year goes by without Dixon getting that second Indy 500 win. What happened?
There was a caution on lap 33 for Stefan Wilson's crashing in the pit lane. They had to wait till the pits opened, but this also happened to Alexander Rossi. This issue was the emergency fuel. Like, emergency fuel means, like, when your tank is really low, it goes to an emergency tank. But the car shuts off when it does that. So they had to figure out how to fuel up the car and then they got to fuel up the car and then refire it. But Dixon's car wouldn't refire right away, so he got lapped. He went a lap down. So he went from being up front to being a lap down in 38 laps because of that issue. But he still ended up finishing, but being a lap down and trying to win the Indy 500, it's possible, but it's kind of hard. Like you had Jacques Villeneuve going from 2 laps down. That's why people nicknamed this victory. People nicknamed it the Indianapolis 505 because he was 5 miles equals 2 laps behind.
You had to make up 5 extra miles to win that race.
Yeah, but for Dixon, it was kind of hard to make up those spots.
It's hard enough to be on the lead lap at the 500.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to make up those spots too because sometimes you don't want to make a daring move on the outside because you could lose the car sometimes. Because these Indy cars are not like NASCAR stock cars. They're different how they handle, so. But at least Dixon did lose places in points. He was the points leader, but now he's not the points leader anymore. But
no, he's not, and that's the thing. That's the thing. Now we're gonna hold on to the championship discussion later because we still have more results to go down and look at here. What about 27th place Felix Rosenqvist? The Swedish driver had a fuel strategy that lasted just like about 6 laps off from the finish, and it didn't go well. He led 14 laps, started 14th, finished in the 27th spot. You know what happened? And there's something I gotta say that explains why Alex Palou might not have or could have won the 500 and not Hélio Castroneves. In the closing laps of the race, Rosenqvist merged on the track at an interesting path.
Yeah,
where pretty much the top 2 can, or not really the top 2, mostly Alex Palou can receive a draft or a tow or slipstream off the McLaren of Rosenqvist.
Yeah, but
unfortunately, Felix got posted for too fast in the pits, so he had to serve a drive-through penalty, which cut all the slipstream and the speed advantage that Alex Palou could have had going ahead to try to pull away from Hélio Castroneves. Had Rosenqvist not received that penalty, we could be talking about Alex Palou winning the 500. You never know.
Yeah, but Rosenqvist also, you could tell he sped down pit road because you saw how heavy he locked
Right.
up.
He probably wasn't thinking about where I'm going to finish at this point because of the Indy 500 is over.
And also about the pit road was wild. You'll hear about more people having
we're going to get to that in a minute here. 31st place, Simona Di Silvestro crashed out, ironically involved in a pit-related accident. Made her first start since the 2015 Indianapolis 500. Graham Rahal, gutting 32nd place finish after leading 8 laps, another pit error. Rahal started 18th, retired from the race. And last but not least, Stefan Wilson, who made his first start since nearly winning the 2018 Indy 500, retired. He was the first caution of the race. So, what happened? What was up with the pits in the Indy 500? We've seen a lot of errors.
I don't know. People kept locking up to make sure they don't go over the limit, but some people hit there's actually a bump. You know where that pit line for the Indy cars? There's a big bump in the middle of pit road which shakes the car loose when you're on the brakes, which that caught Stefan Wilson into the pit wall. And then you had more people with issues. You had people with brake issues. Remember, Simona Di Silvestro and Will Power had brake issues in the pits. Hunter Ray had issues in the pits. I just don't know about people in the pit lane. It's just weird how people kept locking up, spinning, or having brake issues in the pit lane. Pit road would... I even at one point during Ian's reaction video, I even said, I think the pit road is too dangerous or something. Because we didn't expect this to happen in the pits.
Well, that's just the nature of racing, at Indy. But here's the thing, the pits, that was a worrisome moment, especially Stephen Wilson's crash, because I was immediately thinking, oh no, the what about the people in the pits because of possibilities that people might be hurt. The crew members are out there. Yeah, they put a lot on the line.
Yeah, it's because we also had a big one on pit road a few months before during the Brickyard 400. Remember that big one?
Yes, that was last year.
And one of the Ryan Blaney's crew members got injured because of a wreck. But at least he was not on the same side as the pit boxes. He was on the other side, towards the right side of the pit wall. But still, it was just weird. And people hitting those bumps, brake issues in the pits. It was so hard to see.
It was all...
Yeah, it was kind of weird at first because you were one of the people ahead. You're like, oh, that's Stefan Wilson. I just look, I'm like, in the pit lane. Yeah, pit road was dangerous, kind of. But at least these drivers don't have to worry about the pit lane at Indianapolis until the Indy Road Course, which is far away. So, yeah.
I think about the Indy 500 and just knowing the nature of the race. And I said this, I think I said it last week in the podcast, but the Indy 500 really does not start when the green flag drops. The Indy 500 starts when the month of May begins, when the first test sessions begin, because everything counts. The qualifying is so important. If you don't get it right the first time around, you're immediately behind, and trying to catch up is a tall order. It's probably one of the tallest orders you can get. But one thing I can assess from this year's 500, it didn't matter where you started in this race.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about Connor Daly, who led early in the event. He was not in the top 9. He was just a mid-pack driver. In fact, he was outside 33 to 16 teams outside the top half, from there. And he somehow made it to the lead. He had a fast outgoing pace.
Yeah.
But even then, Scott Dixon, it makes me wonder if Scott Dixon never had that issue, or if Alexander Rossi didn't have that issue, what could have happened in the race? How would have they played a role in the closing or in pretty much the stages of the 500? Also, you got to give some credit to the drivers out there. We only had two caution flags, 2 times that pace car had to go on the racetrack.
Yeah.
That says a lot about these drivers. They are some of the greatest drivers in the world.
Yeah, it's not
And
like
let's not forget one more thing I want to mention because I completely forgot.
Yeah.
Scott McLaughlin, the 3-time Supercross champion for Team Penske, finished 20th, and he is the Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year
for the Indy 500.
I was about to say Rookie of the Year. He's the Rookie
Indy
of the Year.
500 Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, he might.
We're going to put all IndyCar stuff out later because that's my next point. I'm going to talk about the point standings.
So did Fittipaldi finish? Who was the second?
Fittipaldi is the only other driver that contested for an Indy 500 Rookie of the Year in 2021, and his race was mediocre from start to finish.
Oh.
He was a lap down in the 25th spot.
Okay, but he was at 1 point ahead of McLaughlin. He was at 1.13.
I'm sure the cautions didn't work out in Fittipaldi's favor.
Or him going down into the pits because pit lane was just dangerous.
It was not a friendly place to pit to be. I mean, we saw Power, Simone Di Silvestro,
with break issues.
Wilson,
Ryan Hunter-Reay.
He nearly ran someone over going into the pits. Yeah. That was a scary moment, I'd say.
Felix Rosenquist speeding in the pits. My pit road was just dangerous.
And we see these races won or lost pit road. Some of these guys lost on pit road. Some of these guys won on pit road. And that's how the song was written for 2021. But yeah, so let's go into the IndyCar Championship here, though. So we have a 16 race tour. Remember, we lost Toronto, so that's no longer 17. It's back down to 16. Yeah. The championship is now in the hands of Alex Palou. He's got 248 points, a 36-point gap over his teammate, the 6-time champion Scott Dixon, who's looking to make history just like Hélio Castroneves did to become the winningest IndyCar champion at 7. That would be A.J. Foyt's record on the line here. He's got to make up 36 points, though, and we're heading to some road courses that could favor him, but we'll see what happens. Patricio O'Ward in 3rd, minus 1 point from Scott Dixon. So Pato is in that spot. He's got 211 points. Simon Pagenaud really leaped up to 4th. He managed to bank out a great month of May. 4th place for the 2016 champion. Simon Pagenaud minus 47. And Rinus VeeKay, who won the Indy Grand Prix, is 5th with 191 points, minus 57.
Ooh.
2-time champion Joseph Newgarden didn't have the Indy 500 he wanted, but he's still 6 in points, minus 64. Colton Herta dropped down to 7th. Even a 16th place finish didn't do him too well, minus 94. Graham Rahal dropped drastically to 8th, minus 100. Scott McLaughlin is 9th with minus 105, and behind the championship leader by his teammate by 110 points is Marcus Ericsson.
Oh, my.
And by the way, I forgot to mention, Chip Ganassi Racing is now going into a full decade of no Indy 500 wins. Wow. Not since Dario Franchitti from 2012.
Oh, my. I just looked at the points. Hélio's ran only 2 races. He's 2 points ahead of Alexander Rossi, who's ran the whole season. Rossi is 15th in the points.
Don't they award double points for the Indy 500, or is it not this year?
I don't know. Hélio's 14th. Then you got Ed Carpenter is 5 points ahead of Bourdais, who's ahead of Hunter.
The drive for 5, I think, is no longer alive with Bourdais.
Bourdais has 89 points in 18th. Hunter-Reay is 5 behind Carpenter in 17th.
The boost for Deuce ain't going to happen for Ryan Hunter-Reay either.
Grosjean is about to pass next race at Detroit. Grosjean is about to pass Rosenquist at the lowest.
It has not been his year. It doesn't take much to fall out of the picture in the IndyCar Championship. I hope you realize.
Oh my God! I just found who's the lowest full-time driver in IndyCar points. Don Kellett, 25th, with 62 points. He's behind because
He's not finished anywhere above 18th.
After Rosenquist, you got Ed Jones, who's full-time. He's 23rd. James Hinchcliffe, 24th in the standings in the Andretti Steinbrenner car. Then it's Kellett. Then you got all the part-time drivers. With last place, R.C. Enerson with 0 points, but Kimball did run the...
He ran the Grand Prix.
Yeah, so that's why he has 8 points.
So, these guys will be back in 2 weeks' time. We'll have round 7 and 8, the doubleheader race. The Detroit Grand Prix at Belle Isle is back for the first time since 2019. It's one of my favorite destinations. You think of the famous street circus in IndyCar. Every year we have St. Petersburg, usually to kick off the season. Then after the Indy 500 is all set, or actually, but before the Indy 500, usually we have the Long Beach Grand Prix. Then right after the Indy 500 is Detroit. And on most years we have Toronto. And those are like the main city courses. Nashville's coming in a few months.
Yeah.
I'm excited for that. Music City GP. Let's go.
Yeah. But Detroit's also, I like the track at Detroit. I love it.
It has an interesting layout.
But except hopefully 2018 race 2 doesn't happen when the pace car
it's just one of those things that you just call bizarre. All right, and I think we'll discuss more IndyCar later because we have a lot more to talk about. We have some sports car racing and all ahead.
Yep.
You know what? Actually, I kind of want to hold on the sports car conversation. Actually, let's just talk about it now because we have a lot more to cover in the race preview. So let's get into what happened in France over the weekend. And how about these guys? I have it on the private chat wiki article right there. The GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup for race 2 of 5 in the 2021 championship was won by Porsche. The 1,000 kilometers of Paul Ricard, Circuit Paul Ricard, also known as the 6 hours of Le Castellet in Le Castellet, France, home of the French Grand Prix. A very frequent destination for endurance racing, I've noticed. But in the end, it was Porsche with their factory driver lineup of Earl Bamber, Matt Campbell, and Matthew Jaminet. The Kiwi, the Aussie, and the Frenchman winning for the UAE team. GPX Racing, they have been so strong with the Porsches lately. GPX Racing, the team that won the Dubai 24 hours. By the way, Jaminet was the only driver from that lineup to be in the Dubai lineup that won that race. Just an incredible performance. So, we're going to go by class, top 5 in each class. But what I want to mention before we go into that, what I find very impressive, after 6 hours of racing, 11 cars overall finished on the lead lap. I'm not making that up. 11 cars finished a 6-hour race on the lead lap. Now, that is impressive. Yeah. Second place was the number 32 Team WRT Audi R8 LMS Evo with Dries Van Toork, Kelvin van der Linde, and Charles Wirtz behind the wheel of that car. Team WRT, a long-time operation in GT3 racing. The FFF Racing Team Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo, the team that won pole position and led for most of the race, with factory drivers Marco Bartolotti, Andrea Calderetti, and Marco Mappelli, finished third, 6 seconds back. Fourth place was the number, and fifth place, we're going to talk about this team right here, a team that's improved. In fact, the fourth place car finished second physically, but got a time penalty for pit violation, so they were scored in fourth outside the podium. The number 71 Iron Lynx Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo with Antonio Fiocco, Callum Ilott, and David Rigon, the factory drivers for Ferrari. In fifth place, we have more factory drivers for Ferrari for the Iron Lynx number 51 Ferrari of Alessandro Pierguidi, Nicholas Nielsen, and Come Ledogar. So that's your main class, your pro class. Now let's talk about the silver class. Finishing 11th overall, winning that silver class. What a performance for these guys. The home team, ACA ASP, based in France, they fielded a Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo. They shared the same lap as the overall leader, mind you, the silver class winners. Konstantin Tereshchenko, Thomas Drouet, and Simon Gachet taking the win over one lap from everybody else in the in the class. Second place in the category was the number 14 Emil Frey Racing Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo with Alex Fontana, Rolf Einkinen, and Ricardo Feller. Third place in class was the number 16 GRT Grasser Racing Team Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo. Boy, the Lamborghinis, they were close, but they just cannot get the job done this weekend. The drivers for that car was Tim Zimmerman, Clemens Schmidt, and Emilio Galbiati. Fourth place was the number 99 Attempto Racing Audi R8 GT3 LMS Evo with Dennis Marshall, Alex Alka, and Max Hofer. And fifth place in the class was the number 30 Team WRT Audi R8 LMS Evo, 2 laps behind the class winner with drivers James Pohl, Stuart Hall, and Benjamin Gothe. So, yeah, that was your silver class. Now, let's talk about the last class that happened that we saw in the race. That was the Pro-Am division. Remember, these classes are based off driver licenses, as well as, I think, the year of the car, too. I'm not so sure on that still. I have to check the SRO group regulations. 21st place overall, winning the Pro-Am class, was the number 93 Tempesta Racing Ferrari 488 GT3 Evo, after completing 180 laps with Chris Frogat, Jonathan Hui, and Eddie Cheever III, taking victory for this British team in an Italian car. Second place, another close call for the FFF Racing Team Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evo of the 19 car with Phil Keen and Hiroshi Hamaguchi. In fact, they were on the same lap. They were close. 3 cars finished on the same lap in this category. Unlike silver, it was a competitive class that came down to some pit strategies and, ironically, a penalty that gave Tempesta the win in category. Third place in the Pro-Am class was the number 188 Garage 59 Motorsport Aston Martin Vantage AMR GT3 with Johnny Adam, Alexander Rust, and Chris Goodwin, the Aston Martin factory drivers behind the wheel of that car. Fourth place in the category was the number 69 Ram Racing Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo with Rob Collard, Fabian Schiller, and Sam DeHaan, a gentleman driver, and a factory driver behind the wheel of that car. That's why they're in Pro-Am, I guess. And fifth place in class, to wrap things up, was the number 20 SPS Automotive Performance Mercedes AMG GT3 Evo with some factory drivers, Martin Conrad, Dominic Baumann, and Valentin Pierberg. They completed 178 laps. So, well, I think it was just a competitive race. I mean, if you want to know the teams that might be competing for the 24 hours of Spa, that's going to come in the end of July, believe it or not. That's the end of July is literally 2 months from now, almost less than 2 months from now. That's the next race, round 3 of 5. The 2021 total 24 hours of Spa. Justin, that's a classic event.
Yeah, it is.
All right, so yeah, we're going to have a lot more discussion in sports car racing later on in the podcast. But yeah, that was what happened over the weekend. And for sports car racing, we're just getting started. But let's talk about some other events before we move on to what's coming up this weekend. Shall we? Let's move on to NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour.
Yep.
And then we'll get into some MotoGP, and that will be it. So in the end, Justin Bonsignor took the win.
Yep.
Another win by Justin Bonsignor. One that was a very deserving one. That was the Jennerstown 150. This was round 4 of 14. So we'll have 10 races to go after the race, or after that race ended. The Jennerstown Salute 2050 presented by DGV on 29th of May. Doug Coby finished second in the Phil Moran Ford. Third place was Craig Lutz. Fourth place, Woody Pickett, and Patrick Emmerling finished fifth. Now, the championship has changed. It is now a tie between Eric Goodale and Patrick Emberling for the points lead. 125 points, first and second. Down to third with 118 points, Doug Coby. Fourth place, Justin Bonsignor with 116 points, and Kyle Bonsignor with 115 points is your top five. They'll be back in 2 weeks' time at Oswego Speedway for round 5 of this 14-race tour. All right, let's move on into MotoGP. It was not an easy week for motorcycle racing fans. As we learned this past weekend, another unpleasant reality check of the sport. Nobody wants to see a driver or an athlete lose their life on the racetrack. But unfortunately, we all learned about what happened to Swiss rider Jason DePasquale, who was just 19 years old. He was set to turn 20 in September this year and passed away after a crash in the Moto3 qualifying event during the Italian Motorcycle Grand Prix. Jason DePasquale is a son of Philippe DePasquale, a motocross racer. He started racing as far back as 10 years ago. At the age of 9, he loved racing. This was his passion. And to jump into the Moto3 ranks in 2020, it didn't go so well. He scored no points, finished 28th, but ran all the races. In 2021, he looked to better all the stats. A 10th, an 11th, a 12th, a 7th, and 13th. He claimed 27 points and was 12th in the standings, or is 12th after the race that happened, unfortunately, tragically without him. Jason DePasquale was only 19 years old, and we send our condolences to his family, his friends, everybody that have known him very dearly. Racing is a dangerous sport. You go so fast in these machines. And to see something like this, as a race fan for almost 20 years, I've watched fatalities on the track 5 times in car racing. Very rare, of course, these days, luckily. But I didn't watch we don't cover Moto3. We just really cover the races that happen in MotoGP at most.
Yeah.
But to see something like that on the weekend that shares the main event, it's just a heart aching moment, and just another reality check of why, these athletes, they do what they love because they love to race. Fabio Quartararo, the talented Frenchman who started on pole position after completing 23 laps, he picked up the win. It was his 6th career win. And Fabio Quartararo from Nice, France, at the age of 22, we could see him visibly emotional in the cool-down lap after he won the Italian Grand Prix at Mugello in Tuscany. Miguel Oliveira, the KTM rider, did finish 2nd, and Oliveira is seemingly trying to do what he can to not lose touch of the championship. He had a slow start to the season, now he's catching up. Joan Mir, who dropped down in points, managed to redeem and go back up to 5th in the championship by a 3rd place run in the highest Suzuki of the race. John Zarco picked up the fastest lap in the highest Ducati of the race, and Brad Binder rounded out the top 5. Good run for the South African rider. It was not a good race if you were Francesco Bagnaia, who crashed on the opening lap, as well as Marc Marquez. Alex Rins crashed out on lap 18. Takaki Nakagami, who just can't seem to get out of trouble in the race, was involved in another accident. He sits 12th in points. Still looking to catch a break. Just hasn't been his year. But let's take a look at the championship standings. So 6 races are done in this 19-race tour. Well, at the time of this podcast, it's still a 19-race tour. We don't know what it can look like later. There's still some postponed races that are not officially canceled yet that could still catch a date in a few weeks or months' time. We'll get a formal announcement on that, of course, when MotoGP, the FIM, the Federation of National Motorcycle, announces that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the rider standings, though. Fabio Quartararo pulls away. He's got 105 points. In second place, John Zarco is in second with 81 points. Third place, Francesco Bagnaia with 79 points. Jack Miller is fourth with 74 points. And Joan Mir is fifth with 65 points. Now let's move down to the constructor standings, because it seems like Yamaha has finally taken over from Ducati, but it's not going to go without a fight. Yamaha has 132 points, while Ducati has 123. So that's a 9-point margin between the top two. Suzuki is third with 69 points, while KTM is catching up at last with 58 points. Honda is just not having the season of the year as you normally expect them. They are fifth with 47 points, and with 3 points behind them, Aprilia is up the game, and they're in sixth. So Honda, they're not too safe in order to be in the not last battle. But we still haven't seen Honda at their fullest potential. All right. And now the team's championship. Monster Energy Yamaha MotoGP, of course, that's the team that Fabio Quartararo drives in his Yamaha, or rides. This is bike racing. 169 points for Monster Energy Yamaha MotoGP. Second place is the Ducati Lenovo team with 153 points. Third place is Pramac Racing, a Ducati team, with 102 points. Fourth place is Team Suzuki X-Star with 88 points. And fifth place is Red Bull KTM Factory Racing with 64 points. That team, of course, picked up a podium with Miguel Oliveira on Sunday.
Yeah.
But yeah, where's Honda? Their highest team is Repsol Honda team with 52 points. That's their factory program. So let's see where, everybody fares out, because they're going to be racing once again this weekend for the Catalan Grand Prix in the Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya, home of the Formula One Spanish Grand Prix. All right. So that's that with MotoGP. Let's get back to some four wheels, shall we?
Yeah.
This weekend we have a lot of interesting racing on our plates. Let me just pull these up. We'll get this started. I need one more tab open. Oh, I need to go here. Perfect. All right. This weekend we have some NASCAR racing. They're by themselves at Sonoma, California. We have the Cup Series race, the third road course race of the season, the Sonoma Toyota Save-Mart 350K, round 16 of 36. The Xfinity Series will be by themselves this weekend, headlining the racing at Mid-Ohio this weekend. For the first time since 2019, round 13 of 33 in the early parts of the second third of the season for the Mid-Ohio Challenge 170. Formula One is back this weekend in the streets of Baku City Circuit for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, round 6 of 23. And accompanying the Formula One weekend, we have Formula 2 for the Baku City Circuit round week 3 of 8. And, of course, sports car racing. We have a lot to talk about there. We have the European Le Mans Series 4 Hours of Le Castellet, round 3 of 6, and the big race, the 2021 ADAC Nürburgring 24 Hours, the 49th edition of this classic, is coming up this weekend. So let's get started with NASCAR. And we're pretty much on the second half of the podcast. It took us an hour, 28 minutes to get there, but here we are.
Yeah.
So let's talk some history of Sonoma Raceway in NASCAR's Cup Series. Remember, last year it was not part of the schedule due to the pandemic, but it's back now. This race round 16 and 36. And let's go talk some history of this event. In 1988, remember, NASCAR used to hold its longest road course race of the year, a 500-mile race at Riverside for most of the 60s, and they changed the distance. I think it went to 500K or something. But at the end of 1988, Riverside Raceway was about to close and turn into a mall, a very unpopular move that sticks by today, as it was one of the most popular American racetracks, especially out in the West Coast.
Yeah.
Well, hey, just look at all the movies that were featuring like the racing scenes at Riverside because how close it was to Hollywood. Now, I mean, you say I still have Laguna Seca and Sonoma, California Speedway, but you get the point. So the first race was ran here, and Ricky Rudd took the win in 1989. Last time the race was ran at this track, 2019. Martin Truex Jr. took the win. Let's look at the drivers that have most wins. Jeff Gordon, without a doubt. 5 times he's won this race. Tony Stewart, a 3-time winner, as well as Martin Truex Jr. Fun fact, Martin Truex Jr. has won here 3 times for 3 different teams. Take that into consideration going into your fantasy predictions, NASCAR fans. And with 2 wins, Ernie Irvan, Rusty Wallace, Ricky Rudd, and Kyle Busch sit on that list. With team wins, Hendrick Motorsports, 6 wins. Joe Gibbs Racing can tie that with 5 wins going into the weekend. Robert Yates Racing, the highest team that no longer is in the sport, 3 wins. Richard Childress Racing, Team Penske, Michael Waltrip Racing, Roush Fleming Racing, and Stuart Haas Racing have 2 wins at Sonoma. Now, who is the best manufacturer out west on the desert? Chevrolet, 11 times they've gone to victory lane. Ford has 8 wins. Toyota, 6 wins. Dodge, 3 wins. Pontiac, 2 wins. And Buick, 1 win. So, Justin, here are your stats. I know you make good predictions most of the time, but let's hear them now. California dreaming or not?
Okay. My pick, this driver. Okay, my pick, this driver, he has, here at Sonoma, his stats are, I feel like an upset winner is going to win, but according to the stats, okay, my pick, this driver, he's ran a few Sonoma races. Let me check where this is. He's ran 5 Sonoma races, 1 top 5, 1 top 10, and 2 top 20s. His average finish is 20.8, but he got a top 5 back in 2019 here, driving for a team that shut down last year. Driver of the number 21. Matt DiBenedetto is going to win at Sonoma and get the Wood Brothers 100th win in NASCAR.
You got me grinning there because I want to see it just as much as a lot of other people do, and how close Matt's been in that car winning, trying to knock on the door for that 100th win and the first for himself. Right. It would be a monumental achievement. And also, he did well. He got 4th in 2019 for Levine Family Racing. Oh, yeah. So he was just getting started. Yeah, he knows how to run here at Sonoma, so I feel like he's going to really do good. So I feel like Matt DiBenedetto is going to win. So who's your pick, Joseph? Well, Justin, I think my pick is going to go with a veteran. It seems like this track has suited the veterans very well. 10 years ago, Kurt Busch was going on a tear. He's had to finally redeem himself at Team Penske and started winning a lot that year. Even though he got axed based off his off-track behaviors, he's still a winner at Sonoma. And Kurt Busch is a great road course racer. In fact, when he raced in the West Series, that's where he got most of his road course experience. Kurt Busch will take the win Sunday at Sonoma, California. Okay. I mean, hell, look at all the veterans winning this month. Yeah. I feel like, he has a good shot, too. Yeah. Here. And the other race we have is the Mid-Ohio BNL Transport 170, which is Saturday. Yeah, let's take a look at the history of this race. Now, unlike the Cup Series, this race has been around since the demise of the Montreal round. Yeah. In 2012. So in 2013, Mid-Ohio was the replacement date for Montreal. And it was an instant success. So this race is 170 miles, round 13, 33 race tour. AJ Allmendinger for Team Penske then took the win in the first ever running of this race. And, of course, it was one of the tracks that didn't get a scheduled date in 2020. Austin Cindric took the last race at the track in 2019. Because of that, there's no multiple winners, so we'll just go through the years of the guys that have won. So, as I mentioned, Allmendinger took the win in 2013 for Team Penske and Ford. In 2014 for Roush Racing and Ford, Chris Buescher took the win. 2015 for Junior Motorsports and Chevrolet was Regan Smith. For Chip Ganassi and Chevrolet, the 2016 winner was Justin Marks. For 2017, the winner was driving a Team Penske Ford, Sam Horners Jr. 2018, the Junior Motorsports Chevrolet, piloted by Justin Allgaier, took the win. And, of course, the last race were Team Penske and Ford, Austin Cindric, which puts Team Penske for most team wins with 3 over Junior Motorsports and 2. And Ford has 1 over Chevrolet, so 4 for Ford, 3 for Chevy. In stats, just based off the stats I have here. Let me just tell you, as much as I'm a fan of the Toyota drivers, that's not the car you want to be driving going into Mid-Ohio this weekend.
Yeah.
But I have a prediction that counteracts that saying. Let's hear yours first, Justin.
Okay, my pick, he's only ran 2 Mid-Ohio. He ran in 2018 and 2019. His stats are this in 2 races. He has 2 races, 1 win, 2 top 5s, 2 top 10s, 2 top 20s, an average start of 1.0, and an average finish of 1.5. Yes, his 1 win came back 2019. Driver of the number 22, Austin Cindric, will be the first driver to get multiple wins at Mid-Ohio, and he's going to have a perfect record, and keeping that average finish really well. Like a 1.5 average finish, that means you're pretty good at that racetrack. I know that he only ran twice there, but still.
You finished second in the first one, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, to Justin Allgaier.
Yeah, Allgaier had the better tires of the late stage. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and then 2019, he won his second career race after winning Watkins Glen the week before.
Okay, well, that makes me have my prediction. Since I said that a Toyota hasn't won yet, that makes me think we're going to see something change. And this driver, he was so close. If he wasn't in the bad position, he would not have been taken out of that crash at Charlie and could have gotten his first career win. The fact he's still with 0 wins is a shocker enough. And he's good on these road courses, so better watch out. Daniel Hemrick will take his first career win. He'll get Joe Gibbs Racing and Toyota their first career wins at this track as well, but entirely for the Xfinity Series, it'll be the first for Daniel Hemrick. A really popular win.
I just realized Hemrick's average finish is decent there too.
Very good.
Yeah, so Hemrick's decent there, and Austin Cindric's decent there. So it's gonna be interesting to see how Mid-Ohio goes.
And we don't have that many part-time road course ringers that we had in Circuit of the Americas with the new track and all that stuff that are coming into this race.
The only one we see, Andy Lally, in the 23.
He may not be able to make it in based on points.
No, he's in the 23.
Oh, he's in the 20. Yeah, I keep thinking he's in the 03. They probably ditched that idea anyways.
Well, the 2 DNQs, the 13, Carl Long's car, so David Starr, and Dylan Bassett. So Jordan Anderson's car is in the field.
That's exactly what he wanted. The plan worked.
Yeah. So
for the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, Josh Berry's in that car this weekend. Miguel Paludo is making his final start this season in the 8. Then Berry runs the last few, but then Pocono. Remember Pocono? That's
Sam
when
Mayer's going to take over.
That's when he takes over because he turns 18. But Sam Mayer, he's gonna. I feel like the momentum of the 8. I feel Sam Mayer's gonna help the 8 grow.
Absolutely, they're on track. The car's on track. They have the right crew members, the right crew chief. Everything seems to fall in place with those guys.
Also, Sam Mayer's been good in the Truck Series recently. He's been good in ARCA. So
he's been running those road courses too.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see. After Mid-Ohio, they're going to Texas, which is a mile and a half. But Mid-Ohio, it's been since 2019, plus no practice or qualifying.
Oh, yeah, that's back.
Yeah, until the next race. What practice qualifying? Nashville.
That's coming up pretty soon.
That's after Texas.
Oh, Texas has a points race with Xfinity and trucks, right?
Yeah. Cup Series.
All-Star is going to be in exhibition.
Yeah.
Cup. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So
all right, so we have some good, good little blueprints here, and this is going to make a big difference in where you stand in the season.
Yeah. And also, just to let people know before, tomorrow you'll most likely see me posting the starting grids because they're always posted on Wednesday by NASCAR. So probably tomorrow or for Thursday you'll see me because I'm the one that posts those lineups and entry lists. So you might see World Racing Media posting the starting grids because right now I just finished putting the entry lists for the ARCA, both ARCA East and not ARCA East, ARCA West and ARCA Series.
Yes, the ARCA West Series will accompany the NASCAR Cup Series
and
race at
Sonoma. And the main ARCA championship is accompanying
the Xfinity Series event in Ohio.
All right. Yep.
Let's go and talk about some open wheel racing now that we're at it. This weekend, Formula One has returned. Ready or not, they are racing in Azerbaijan this year. The Azerbaijan Grand Prix at Baku City Circuit. It's a street circuit that began in 2016 as the final European Grand Prix before they got a Grand Prix of their own in 2017, a race that was won by Daniel Ricciardo.
Yeah.
2019, the last race here was ran and won by Lewis Valtteri Bottas. Hamilton won 20. Like when you hear me just gap like that, I'm off in the wind.
Yeah, I was about to say because I'm like 2018 Valtteri had the puncture and lost the race, but
in 2019 Lewis Hamilton had the win.
No, 2019.
I need to refresh myself.
Yeah,
okay,
2018 Lewis had the win, then Valtteri won it, and then. But remember what happened in 2018 to Red Bull Racing?
Yeah, I remember the whole Grosjean episode.
Oh, Grosjean saying, but it was not even Grosjean that said that. It was actually his engineer said that about Ericsson.
Gosh, that was a comedic race.
I don't know.
Well, let's talk about the history of this event. As we mentioned, Ricciardo, Hamilton, Bottas were the three winners here. Mercedes has the most constructor wins with 2 over 1 with Red Bull, and that's pretty much it.
Ferrari has not won here. But remember what happened in 2019 when Leclerc crashed in qualifying?
Yes.
In that castle section. So that castle
a very skinny part, like very Macauish.
Yeah, so the castle section is going to be tough for everyone. That's always the toughest.
It's a tricky
part.
Circuit. I mean,
you
have a lot of places to consider.
But a place to pass is that DRS zone on the front straightaway.
Oh, for sure.
Well, remember what happened in 2018? Both Red Bulls collided in turn 1.
That was probably the straw that broke the camel's back for Ricciardo at Red Bull.
Yeah, and that's how Valtteri got to the lead, and then that's when he had this puncture that gave Lewis the victory.
Well. So let's go back and take a look at the World Championship standings in both drivers and constructors because it changed after the Monaco Grand Prix. Max Verstappen has a 4-point lead over Lewis Hamilton in the World Drivers' Championship. In the World Constructors' Championship, Red Bull Racing Honda has a 1-point lead over Mercedes. What will those top two, or the top two in the standings, look like in both drivers and constructors leaving the Baku event? Who's going to win the Azerbaijan Grand Prix first and foremost?
My pick, this driver, he has a win here. His team has 2 victories here. Driver of the number 44, Lewis Hamilton, is going to win again at Baku because I think now Red Bull's just hoping Max.
Red Bull will be Red Bulled.
Well,
Max Verstappen is going to win this weekend.
It just depends if Perez wants to do. Just talk about Red Bull Racing.
See, young Max Verstappen was off the rails, but he could drive. Now, older Max Verstappen has a championship on the line.
But what happens to Sergio Perez and what happens if Charles Leclerc shoves Perez into Verstappen?
The only way that would have happened is Vettel was still being Ferrari, and Leclerc could run. I'm not going to go there because that would be a little too fast.
But also, I don't know how Ferrari's going to do. They have a better car, but not than 2019. 2019, they actually had pace in their car.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we never got to see them with their slow 2020 cars here.
Their 2020 car was just, if they would have ran Azerbaijan in 2020, I don't know how they would have
I'll
done
probably
there.
see Racing Point on podium or something like that. But, you know,
Well, we had a Williams on
was that the
podium.
last Williams podium with Lance Stroll?
Yeah, 2017 was the last podium. Their last podium ever is that. Their last point is Robert.
He was the first
Kubica.
Canadian to stand on podium since Villeneuve at Germany 20 years ago.
And the last time Williams, and people wonder who's the last Williams to win the Grand Prix. Pastor
Maldonado
at Barcelona.
Getting more bizarre than that.
Nobody expected him to hold on.
Not anyone.
He was supposed to start second, but Lewis got a penalty in qualifying, so they put Maldonado
Spanish Grand Prix in 2012 when.
But well, Bruno Senna's car caught on fire in the garage after the race. Somehow.
That's just Pastor Maldonado's against.
Yeah, Pastor Maldonado wins the Grand Prix. The other car, I guess, was so overwhelmed that Maldonado set itself on fire in the garage after the race. That's a little bit interesting.
It's all horrendously meant to fall in place. Well, that's I guess, you know, that's it for Formula One. Now let's talk about the feeder series. Formula 2 at Baku City Circuit for week 3 of the 8-week tour for 2021. Now the championship has changed in the standings after the Monaco Grand Prix rounds, where we saw Guan Yu Zhou extend that points lead. He's got 18 points.
Yeah,
I can't do math. I think it's 18 points over Oscar Piastri and Théo Pourchaire, who hops up to third. Remember, this year we have 3 races, 2 sprints and a feature, Saturday and Sunday. Dan Ticktum fourth, Liam Lawson fifth. Now, in the team's championship, it seems like UNI Virtuosi Racing is pulling away. 97 points compared to Prema with 82 points. Carl in third with 67 points. And Art Grand Prix fourth, 63 points. Who will take the sprint races in the feature race? We'll have the best average finish coming out of this thing.
Yeah. I feel like for sprint race 1 would be Théo Pourchaire. Sprint race 1. Sprint race 2 would go to Guan Yu Zhou. And then the feature would go to Guan Yu Zhou. I feel like the best average would be Guan Yu Zhou. He's experienced at this track. He's also good on these city circuits, I've noticed. He's good on these street circuits. But
Dan Ticktum is someone I'm looking at, especially for the feature race, because he won the Monaco Grand Prix twice, and he's good at these city circuits. But it's tough to win a track like, not Monaco, Macau.
I was about to say, like,
I caught myself before you did.
Yeah, I was about to say Macau. I remember him winning 2 Macau Grand Prix.
Yeah, not Monaco. Don't listen to
Yeah, like the net, because literally the person that snapped Macau, Ticktum's Macau victories was Richard Verschoor in 2019. He won the Macau Grand Prix back in 2019. But I remember, I wonder, is Alessio Deletta actually going to qualify? Remember what happened at Monaco? He somehow was behind the 107% time. But they let him race anyway.
The Alessio Delata rule.
Even Mahavir qualified at Monaco, which is kind of bad. But last time, Monaco was interesting. Mahavir finished 11th in the feature race in 2019.
Well, what happened to Mahavir Raghunathan at Baku a few weeks later?
Oh.
See, I would play the Chicken Dance song, but YouTube would probably strike me for copyright, so I can't.
But Mahavir, I remember when he ran Baku. Well, do you know what's funny about Mahavir?
He couldn't do a 3-point turn.
Oh, well.
That's my driver's license test in first go around.
Well,
he couldn't do a 3-point turn in a Formula 2 car.
Well, like Monaco, his teammate Jordan King ran a 157.616 in the feature race. First, Mahavir ran a 2:03.946, 6.3 seconds off the pace.
That's horrendous.
How can you be that bad off your teammate?
Well, they never know.
Well, we talk about Mahavir, the same person that jumped the start at.
And then he wrecked Jack Aiken or something. Oh, he jumped the start and then he wrecked Jack Aiken.
Yeah, he wrecked Jack Aiken, cut the corner, and then in the feature race he jumped the start. And then Giotto took him out, but Mahavir got a 20-second penalty and plus a few penalty points for his shenanigans.
All right.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
that's it for now in Formula 2. But yeah, my pick, I think, in the Formula 2 race, I think we're gonna see some Dan Ticktum. So you got Gwen Joe for the weekend. I got Dan Ticktum for the weekend, and we'll see where they fare out in points when they come out of this.
Yeah.
And then then one more race weekend. What's that? What comes after? Okay, Silverstone would be week 4, and that would be on the 17th and 18th of July, and then they'll be halfway through the season.
Yeah.
All right, that makes sense now. Okay, so what do you see how we left here? Sports car racing. Let's start with the lesser compact race and talk about the European Le Mans Series. The final race in the first half of the season, the 4 hours of Le Castellet at the Circuit de Paul Ricard in Le Castellet, France. A track that seems to be very, very common for a lot of these endurance races lately in the last few years, especially since the pandemic has resumed racing. But we'll see where things go. Oh yeah, I got the entry, so I got to pull that up. Thank you for that. Despite the clash with the Nürburgring 24-hour race, we still have 42 cars overall, which is not a bad outing. I mean, I'm actually surprised by that. There are a lot of different driver names, however, that I've noticed. Probably because of all the star drivers going to Nürburgring for the weekend, but we'll see who gets to take advantage of these opportunities here. All right. So yeah, in the top class, of course, the LMP2 class, which does have an for this new season, if you guys haven't forgotten, there's an award for Pro-Am trophy, highest of those guys. 16 of them total for LMP2. LMP3, we have 16 cars overall for Le Mans Prototype 3. And then, of course, the LMGTE class, the least amount of cars with 9. And probably the most effective class by the whole thing.
Well, we also got an innovative car, which is for like the people that are paralyzed, like people that are in wheelchairs. But
you're driving an Oracle 07.
But that's basically an LMP2, but considered in another class.
Yeah,
but
that's 42 total.
But so it's gonna be.
Let's talk about the top class though, LMP2.
Okay, I already got my pick.
Let's hear it.
My pick. This team is on a roll. They've won the first 2 races of the season. The number 41 Team WRT Orica 07 Gibson, driven by Robert Kubica, Louis Delatrez, and Yifi Yi.
These guys have just been unbelievably talented. I mean, they're typically a GT3 team, and they just tearing the track, doing a great job this year. You can possibly get the championship at this rate. If they can close out the first half with a bang, there'll be another win possibly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, my pick for this race, I'm just going to have to go with what Justin said. The number 41 Team WRT Oracle 07 Gibson with Yifi, Louis Delatrez, and Robert Kubica. They just have the world in their hands. Let's talk about LMP3 now.
I got my pick.
Sure.
My pick is the number 20 Team Viraj Ligier JS P320 Nissan, driven by Rob Hodes, Garrett Grist, and Charles Cruz.
They sound like good possibilities here. I think for this class, because there's a lot of guys I've never seen before, a lot of new names, especially for this weekend. I think I'm going to go with this team here, number 18, 1A Villabor, Corsa, Ligier JSP 320 Nissan with Alessandro Brisson, Andreas Las Caratos, and Damiano Fiorenti driving that car. So keep an eye on it for number 18 for class honors. And last but not least, the LMGTE class. 9 cars in total. We have all Porsches and Ferraris except for one Aston Martin.
Yeah.
Will win that class.
Okay, my pick is the number 88. AF Corsa Ferrari GT Evo, driven by Francois Perotto, Emmanuel Collard, and Alessio Rivera.
All right. And for this class I have right here, I think we're going to have to go with the 3 Porsche drivers that did not go to the Nürburgring 24 hours this weekend. And that would be the number 77 WeatherTech Racing Tom Competition Porsche 911 RSR19 with Christian Reed, Cooper McNeil, and Jimmy Bruni. So, yeah, those are what we got to look for over the race weekend. 4-hour race. And remember, this race was actually supposed to be on a different date. But because the 24 Hours of Le Mans, which was supposed to be held in the second weekend of June, was relocated to a late August date, they had to move this event. And unfortunately, they had a clash with the 24 Hours of Nürburgring. It was just something that they couldn't control. But surprisingly enough, we saw a lot of people that showed up. A lot of teams are there. Some different driver names that have been obviously pointed out by me and others, of course. So we'll see where this goes. Ready for the next one?
Yeah.
I think I've been probably most excited for this race. The 24 Hours of the Nürburgring. What a classic race. The 24 Hours of Nürburgring has been running for 48 years. This will be the 49th running of the race, despite some years in between because of some oil crises that happened and all that stuff. This race has been sanctioned by the ADAC. The total 24 Hours of Nürburgring Zurich, or should I say in German, the 24 Rennen. I can't say 24 in German, but you get the point.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the history of this race here. So, in 1970. I almost said 2070. See, I'm tired.
2070. I don't think.
We're not there yet.
No, that's in 49 years. We have in 49 years. I'm gonna be 60. We'll be in our 60s to 70s at that point.
Okay, let's leave it at that. Justin. All right. So yeah, I met 49 years ago in 1970.
Yeah.
The first ever running of the Nürburgring 24 Hours was won by this duo, Clemens Schickentant and the legendary Hans Joachim Stuck, driving a BMW 2002 Ti for Kopjen BMW Tuning, won the inaugural race in 1970. Now, last year's race was won by Rova Racing, BMW M6 GT3 with Nicky Katzberg, Nick Yellowly, and Alexander Sims. A race that was in early fall because of the pandemic. Now, who has the most wins here by drivers? Pedro Lamy, Marcel Tiemann, and Timo Bernhard. 5 wins in between. In fact, Marcel Tiemann and Timo Bernhard, in fact, they've shared wins together. Unfortunately, Marcel's career came to a crashing halt when he suffered near-fatal injuries in an accident, which ended his racing career. So he never got to get that 6th win. Timo Bernhard picked up that 5th win in 2011. Now, who has the most wins? I just mentioned those guys. Who's underneath them on that list? Fritz Mueller, Mark Duez, Peter Zakowski, Mark Lieb, and Romain Dumas. Now, Romain Dumas has a chance to become part of the 5 Winners Club. He is driving for a factory Porsche team with factory-supported drivers. So keep an eye out there for the Frenchman. Could he get that win? And fun fact, Mark Lieb and Romain Dumas won their races together in 2007, 08, 09, and 11. Same car, same team. Herbert Heckler, Klaus Ludwig, Hans Joachim Stuck, and Marcus Winkelhock, 3-time winners of the 24 Hours of the Nürburgring. And these drivers all down here have 2 wins, including Gerald Penkel, Dieter Gartmann, Axel Fedler, Winfried Vogt, Klaus Niedzweds, Joachim Winkelhock, related to Marcus, Frank Ketkoffer, Roberto Raviglia, Johannes Schied, Sabine Schmitz, Hans-Joachim Thiemann, related to Marcel, by the way, Alfred Hegier, Marcel Bartels, Yui Alzen, Georg Mueller, Lucas Lawyer, Christopher Haas, Bernd Schneider, Christopher Mies, and Frank Stippler, the latest driver to become a two-time winner of this race from 2019. Now, for teams, I don't have a chart, but what I do know is that Manti Racing, a longtime Porsche team that has been based in Germany near the Nürburgring Nordschleife, has most wins more than any other team. 6 times they've gotten a victory in this classic event. Now, who has manufacturer supremacy in this race? Look no further than BMW. And BMW, remember, they had a drought that went all the way from 2010 to 2020, when, ironically, in year 2020, BMW picked up win number 20 in 2020 after a 10-year drought that was in 2010. Porsche won this race 12 times. Their last in 2018. Ford won here 5 times. They don't have a car that's going to win overall this year. Audi, of course, won 2 years ago. They share 5 wins apiece. Chrysler has 3 wins under the Viper brand. Remember that Viper GTSR that was very successful in sports car racing. Mercedes won here twice, including that incredible finish in 2016. And Opel won the race in 2003. So the entry list is vivid. Now, we know that just by the classes, there's 125 cars that are going to be racing this event overall.
Yeah.
Now, of those 125 cars, 36 of them are expected to compete for the overall win.
Yeah.
34 cars are in the SP9 class, which is FIA Group GT3, the cars that will expectedly headline this event. And 2 of those cars are in the SPX class, which also are expected to keep up with the SP9 cars. They do not meet Group GT3 standards, however. With that said, let's talk about everything that we should look for in this overall battle of 36 cars. It's a tough entry list, Justin.
Yeah.
But if we can name a few, like a team right now that can compete for this overall win in 2021, who will it be and why?
I feel like one of them is the number 31 Fricadelli Racing Team. They have experience with who's the 31? Maxim Martin, Frederick Makowicki, Dennis Olsen, Patrick Pilet. That's a solid lineup. They have a solid lineup right there. That's a really
all Porsche supported drivers right there, and they have success altogether. I've seen them win many times in the past. But their sister car could very well do the same thing. In fact, 3 of the 4 drivers won that GT World Challenge Europe Endurance Cup race from Le Castel at that 6-hour race this past Saturday. Earl Bammer, Matt Campbell, Matthew Jaminet, along with the driver for this weekend, Nick Tandy, who was part of the winning lineup at the 24 Hours of Spa last year. And I think he won the 24 Hours of Daytona in class in a GTE this year for Corvette. So there's just some names that you can really throw on the table that could be the winner for this year. Now, here's the thing. They're not the only ones out there. Now, Porsche could probably be the best bets, but I think we're looking away from Audi a little bit too much here. Audi has some good lineups that have really intrigued me just by looking at the entry list. And the reason for that, I think, why Audi could become the winners of this race, just take a look at the 29 car. Audi Sport Team Land now. They won before. And they still have I know they won. It was the 2017 race. It was based off a great strategy. Christian Remise, Kelvin van der Linde, now Marcus Winkel, he's not on the team, but I think there's a good chance that we're going to see Rene Rast. I mean, he's an Audi factory driver. Frederick Vervich. Audi seems to do good here. I think I'm going to go with the 29 car. Audi Sport Team Land. They're going to get their second win in the last 4 years. But like you said, Justin, it's going to be a tough race to win. It's an easy race to lose, and it's a hard race to win.
Yeah.
It's hard to stay on track because really there's nothing that can keep these two together. There are no safety cars in this race. Nothing but local yellows to do the length of the track. And lap times can range about 7 minutes to 11 minutes or 12 minutes, depending on how much you've been interrupting your lap. We're not going to go class for class in this race, except for just reporting the winners from the race next week, because there's just so many of them. But, this is why the Nürburgring 24 Hours is such an exciting race, because it's so accessible by many. And we're going to see a lot of enthusiasm, especially this year. Fans are back. And we're back on our traditional day. There'll be fans on the GP circuit. There'll be fans camping out, having a good time overnight. So that's pretty much it. And I think this is a good time to end this podcast. So.
Well, do you don't even know who's your pick?
My
to
pick
win?
is 29 Land.
Okay. My pick's the number 31 Fricadelli Racing Team, driven by Max Martin, Frederick McElwicky, Dennis Olsen, Patrick Pillay. So mine's the Fricadelli team, number 31.
Porsche or Audi or someone else.
Oh.
What about Scuderia Cameron Glickenhaus? They have some of their WEC names coming into this picture here. They could compete for the overall, and they started on pole in 2017. Don't count them out. I think we're going to have a great treat on Saturday. This is going to be a fun race. Saturday, I think 9:30 a.m. Eastern time.
Yeah.
All right.
Which that day I'm at work for the start. I'll miss that. I'll be missing the start and the end because I have to go to work. But at least I could catch the Cup Series and all the other races that are in the afternoon, because that weekend I'm working in the morning. Not like last weekend where I had the weekend off. Yeah. So, next podcast next Monday on June 7th after all the races. The podcast might be a little bit long next week. Probably not as this one, but we'll have to see.
Yep. All right, guys. I think it's a good end for the podcast. Thank you very much for sticking around.
Yep.
Enjoy the rest of the week. Sorry we had to do it on Tuesday, but life happens.
Yep.
All right, from my partner standing forward, Justin Hebert, I'm Joseph Lenny Pavlon signing off. Have a good night.